Hi, my name's Kane Ramsey. Thank you very much for choosing to enroll in this course and join me in what I hope you're going to find to be quite a fascinating and eye-opening journey of self-discovery and exploration, which is essentially what mindfulness is all about. Now, what you're going to find, and I must warn you right from the off here, that I will not be taking a conventional approach to teaching the subject. How I approach and teach mindfulness will be based upon pragmatism, common sense, and applied psychology, merging and splicing in a little bit of philosophical wisdom and also some wise words that you're going to find in some ancient scriptures. I'm going to splice this together into a comprehensive curriculum that I hope just simply makes sense to you. All right, if by the end of this course you do not have a better understanding of yourself, then I have not served you. I have failed you as a teacher and as a human being. All right, now I understand there are many ways that this topic is taught. Some people will teach mindfulness as they wear orange robes and kind of come down from the hills, and that's fine, all right? Some people think that mindfulness is all about deep breathing exercises and losing oneself and going in woodland retreats and chanting mantras and loving oneself and having a nice time. That's not mindfulness. It's actually mindlessness. There's a big difference. All right, some people engage in what they think is mindfulness, but it's not. It's just escapism. Right, now don't get me wrong, I appreciate that there are some people who teach mindfulness who come down from the hills and who live in the hills, but for most of us who live in contemporary 21st century life, you know, we have pandemics going on, we have economic crisis going on, we have hardships, we've got relationships, which means it's all fine and well going and heading for the hills or engaging in a woodland retreat or escaping from life and doing some deep breathing exercises. But if we do not learn how to manage ourselves in the present moment effectively, maturely, wisely, then we're not serving ourselves or other people in the slightest. So this is what I want to help you do, all right? As I help you to understand how it is that you can become more mindfully aware of yourself, all right, for the purposes of building up your mental health, advancing your personal growth, and allowing you to experience that degree of inner peace that most people in the world are desperate for today. Because if you can get this, and guess what? You're going to become quite an influential role model in other people's lives, because the whole world is screaming out to learn how to do this. So just to get us started, I want to open this course up with an idea. It's how I like to open up my training programs. I want to just break down the difference between the culture zones that we engage in life, right? If I was to ask you, what sort of impact do you make when you walk into a room? Well, how would you respond? Are you the kind of person where people kind of just engage in you, people are happy to see you, or do people just blank you? Do people not notice you? Do people kind of see you coming and walk in the opposite direction? Well, however you respond to this, if you are in fact aware, will be determined by the culture that you carry, all right? We all carry a personal culture. Some people think that culture is about, you know, kind of what's happening out there in society. No, culture is determined by, 7.6 billion independent personal cultures, all right? All you've got to do today is look at how some countries are being led around the world, and you'll see how individual culture can go on to influence society or social culture at large. So it's important to understand this thing. I'm helping you to become a bit more mindful of yourself, right in lecture 1 of the course, all right? So there's going to be one of three zones that you will primarily live in and operate out of. Do you live in the panic zone, right? Can you engage? Does this kind of resonate with you? Think about it, right? What does a panic zone look like in life? This is when I'm critical of others. I'm critical of the things that other people say. I'm critical of things other people do. I'm critical of people and things that are different from me. If things and people do not meet my expectations, I'm disappointed and I'm going to complain. And well, again, this is an attitude that many people carry in life, right? Are you mindfully aware of this, or are you not mindfully aware of this? If it seems like I'm kind of just jumping into this course being a little bit confrontational, it's because I want to captivate your attention here and serve you, all right? So, is this your zone? Is this your culture? Do you worry about your future? Do you pick faults and mostly focus on what you don't have in life more than what you do have? Do you do selfish and destructive things? Do you often share negative information? Because if you're a person who's saying, yes, I kind of do that, Well, this is going to determine and hugely influence how other people perceive you. And how other people perceive you will determine whether you're the kind of person that other people actually want to connect meaningfully with or not. All right? But that might not be your culture. You might be operating more in the awareness zone, which is the mindful zone. All right? Some people who operate in the zone, I like to operate in the zone, are more solution focused. Rather than focus on the problems of the world or the problems that we have in our day-to-day life, focus more on solutions. You might see problems and issues more as challenges or puzzles or quandaries, right, to be resolved. But again, it's just a perspective. Some people think about how to be better, more valuable for others, whereas some people just panic and look at how they can have a happy experience for themselves, whereas others focus on how they can better serve others. It's a different perspective, isn't it? Right? Some people are aware of their emotional triggers, some people aren't. In the awareness zone, we understand why we feel how we feel sometimes. If we're just in the midst of panic, then sometimes all rhyme and reason just jumps out the window head first. People in the awareness zone never self-sabotage. Panicky people have a tendency of self-sabotaging, all right? Can you relate? In the awareness zone, I focus on the good, the wise and the healthy, that which is going to complement my life, add value to my life, and add value to society at large. When I'm panicking, I'm primarily thinking only about myself, haven't I? All right, can you relate to what I'm saying here? Because then we have the power zone. And what I'm kind of highlighting here and do my best to demonstrate is the journey of personal growth and development that we can all go on if we want to, right? Many people today in the world are in this place of overwhelmed by not just what's going on in society or in their outer worlds, but they're overwhelmed by their emotions, by sensations, by experiences that they're having inside of them. Think about it, right? What is it that allows us to experience calm and tranquility in life? Well, it's being in this place of inner peace. We're only going to experience this inner peace once we've made peace with how the world is, once we've accepted things for how they are, rather than focusing on how things aren't, and once we've also made peace with ourselves, which includes our flaws, our failings, our imperfections. My goodness, I've said all of this stuff and I've not even said, now let's do some deep breathing exercises. Reason why I've not promoted any deep breathing exercises is because that ain't going to serve you. Most people have been breathing since the day they were born, all right? So I don't need to teach you how to breathe. Instead, I want to teach you how to better relate to yourself so that in time, you can enter into this place of power zone. This is my goal for you. And friend, this is not a bad goal. I promise you it's a good one. Doesn't even matter if you don't like my shirt. This is a good goal to have. Because when we operate in this power zone, once we are mindfully aware of ourselves and the role that we are playing in determining and governing and driving our own lives, we understand that problems allow us opportunity to grow, to develop, to improve, to increase, to strengthen. All right? When we're in the power zone, we actively seek wise information. We actively do our best by other people. We want to serve people. We understand that how we are, how we conduct ourselves, our own personal culture, has the power and the potential to influence society at large for the good, for the better. We have the capacity to be that change that we want to see in the world, rather than waiting for someone to come along and do all the changing and perhaps change us through the process. When we're in the power zone, we build healthy relationships, and we can also become a source of hope for other people. All right, that's the idea. Because all I'm going to ask you to do now is just take a few moments to contemplate, to consider, what zone do you currently live in? All right, if you've never thought about this, and I've just introduced you to mindful self-awareness, which is mindfulness, right? No deep breathing required. So, let us quickly take a few moments here. I want to explain to you how it is that I've structured and broken down this course to help you manage your expectations. Because some people take online training courses like this and they say, I'm really disappointed, I'm not enjoying this, I don't like it, this course is not what I was expecting. Well, that's okay. What you have the opportunity to do is put your expectations down. This training course will not be what you were expecting, so if you can make peace with that, you stand to potentially find quite a lot of value and also grow through the process. So here I'm going to share with you exactly what it is you can expect over the next 14 or so hours of video-based training. Is that all right? Is this okay? All right. Section number 1, the foundations of mindful self-awareness. All right, I'm going to use these words rather than just saying mindfulness. Reason being is because mindfulness has become it's kind of like become a bit of a household name these days, but it means a different thing to different people. So when I'm referring to mindfulness, right, the words I'm going to use, mindful self-awareness, because that's what I mean by mindfulness. I don't mean deep breathing, I don't mean loving yourself, I don't mean chanting mantras, and I also don't mean chewing on sultanas, all right? And that's what many mindfulness teachers promote, all right? I'm not going to be promoting those things. Instead, what I want to do is open up the course by highlighting the roadblocks that potentially are blocking your personal growth. All right? Because many people go through life unaware, all right? It's not like we go through school, is it? Where our teachers say, and here's all the factors and all the roadblocks that stand to potentially undermine your best efforts in life. No, those things don't get taught to us in school, very, very rarely anyway. So I want to help you, first and foremost, understand how it is that you can undermine your own personal growth. Because if you don't want to do that, then, well, you don't have to anymore once you understand what these roadblocks are. I then want to share with you some foundational mindfulness principles. Right? I like to view principles as being foundational cornerstones, if that makes sense. Right? My background, believe it or not, I don't have a lifelong history in teaching mindfulness or applied psychology. I was quite a late starter in life. I approached mindfulness, right, I'm going to be honest with you, from a place of desperation. I reached a stage of life around about the age of 28 years old where my life was an absolute shambles. I don't say this, right, to pour my life story upon you, but rather than to say that when I first started studying mindfulness, I needed a result within myself, right? I got that result I was looking for, hence the reason I'm not basing this training upon any other curriculum that's been presented in the world, right? This is one that I've designed uniquely by myself. So I need to share with you the foundational principles that I have built into my life that work for me. Because if they work for me, then there's a pretty good chance they're also going to work for you. But I also want to introduce you to some very, very healthy attitudes that we can consider building into our life towards ourselves, towards other people that we engage with, and also towards the world. All right? Have you ever heard the saying that you're only ever one shift in perspective away from completely transforming how you feel about anything? Well, that's true, and throughout the course I want to help you to understand how this is true. All right? So section number 2, we want to then take our mindfulness studies in a slightly different direction. We want to look at how it is that we can become more mindfully aware of ourselves, right, in a self-definitive way. What I mean by this is many people define themselves in ways that either box them in or cage themselves in or just totally undermine themselves, right? Have you ever had an inner dialogue with yourself and you've said something like, oh, I'm so stupid, or oh, I'm worthless, or I'm useless, or I'm stupid, or I'm dumb, or I'm not this enough, or I'm not that enough? All right, well, listen, if I'm just saying this stuff to you right now and you're just saying, oh, well, yeah, I actually do, well, guess what? You're becoming more mindfully self-aware already, which means I'm already serving you, and this is only the first video. All right, so I want to give you a basic framework for understanding the human mind, the human will, and the human experience, right? The mind is where our thoughts come from. It's what happens, how it is that we process thoughts, how we structure thoughts, right? Because, believe it or not, we can actually control and manage our thoughts. Some people will say that's not possible, but anything's possible for those individuals who have a strategy. I want to share with you the strategy. The will is just simply our volition in life, right? Our volitional capacity. What I mean by this is the ability that we have to choose, right? Don't get me wrong, right? Sometimes the choices that we're faced with in life can be hard to identify, but there's always a choice, right? You have a choice right now. You might not be liking my shirt, you might not be liking my suit, you might not like my communication style, my presentation style. You'd be thinking, I don't like this is a terrible course, I'm going to disengage, I'm going to turn this guy off. Well, that's okay, you can do that, that's your choice, all right? But, every choice comes with a cost, all right? And sometimes we've got to be aware of the costs, potentially, that our choices might attract in order to make wiser and more well-informed decisions in life, all right? So, I want to help you to break your own habitual thinking styles. Now, what I'm not saying here is that your thinking styles are unhealthy, but I want to help you to break them anyway. Reason being is because we're never going to know whether our habits or attitudes are serving us most effectively until we've taken them off, put them down and analysed them to see if there's a healthier alternative. Again, this is what mindful self-awareness is all about. All right. Our thinking styles in life are just habits, all right? Say, for example, do you have, sometimes when you're interacting with different people, do you sometimes just find yourself naturally reacting to certain types of people in a certain way? Perhaps you've got a religious outlook on life or a political standpoint or some sort of spiritual standpoint. So when people communicate or speak or act or behave in a certain way, you just find yourself naturally, oh, that person's not good, that person's bad, that person's getting it wrong. Or you might find yourself just really drawn towards some people saying, oh yes, I relate to this person so much. Well, that's an indication of our thinking styles, all right? When we find ourselves agreeing with people, well, people were just literally saying stuff that aligns with our thinking style. When we find ourselves disagreeing with people, it's because people are saying things that we don't understand, that we can't relate to, because what other people are saying are things that don't align with our thinking style. Hence the reason I've already said that this course is not about, I'm going to urge you, don't find yourself or don't put yourself in a position where you're agreeing or disagreeing with what I say, right? Don't do that. You can function outside of that. Rather than agree or disagree, you can reflect. I'll give you a framework in a few videos' time to help you do this, to break some habitual thinking styles, if necessary. I want to share with you some factors for mature self-identification. Just thinking back a few moments ago, I said, we all go through life sometimes defining ourselves in unhelpful or limiting or destructive ways, right? I've done this for many years. I am useless. I am not this enough. I am not that enough. I'm not the next thing enough. And if you're taking this course for mental health, self-awareness, personal growth, then you've most likely got I've not enough. You've probably got a few I'm not enough things going on inside your life, all right? So what I want to share with you is a framework, all right? Kind of like a mirror. I want to hold the mirror up to you to help you just establish a few home truths about yourself, become more mindfully aware of the capacity and the opportunity that you have to grow, all right, and develop and improve. Because this can give vision and hope to all of us in life. The third section of the course, I want to explore with you how it is that we can engage in the discipline of mindfulness, mindful self-awareness, for self-discipline and personal effectiveness, which is essentially how we show up in the outside world. All right, so section number 1, the foundations. Right, if we want to build a strong building in life, we need some strong foundations. Right, so that's why we get the foundations down first. Mindfulness for healthy self-definition and personal growth is all about the development that's now going to happen within you. Section number 3 is the so what part. So if you do grow and if you do develop and you do get these foundations down, well, it's about how these new principles and foundations are outworked in your life socially, professionally, and culturally, right? Make sense? So I want to give you a framework for wise decision making. I want to share with you some simple processes for developing self-regulation and control. And I also want to give you a very, very basic framework for understanding the intentions behind the decisions that you make. Because if you understand this, you're going to be able to better relate to the other people in your life as well. Right, so I've covered quite a lot in this opening video of the course. Reason being, because I understand that now you're going to be making a decision as to whether you want to carry on to the next lecture or whether it's time to get a refund and disappear and go and see someone else. So if you do choose to move on, that's fantastic. We're going to get started in the next clip with the formal teachings. But before we do so, I just want to make a simple disclosure here. All right, and this is, and I like to share this in many of my teachings as well, a teacher, all right, the best teacher in the world cannot bridge the gap between what you know and what you don't yet know, all right? So I could be the best teacher in the world, which I'm not proclaiming to be, but even if I was, right, I cannot make you learn anything, all right? For a teacher's words to enlighten you, it is your responsibility to welcome them, to reflect on them, to find a place in your mind to organize them in a way that makes sense, so that in time you can understand them rather than just agreeing or disagreeing with them. Make sense? Teaching is my responsibility, but my friend, learning is yours. In the additional resources section of this video lecture, you're going to find a course learning logbook, which is a PDF you can download, print off, and what I'll urge you to do throughout the training is just take notes of any relevant ideas, any aha moments, all right? I don't want you to do this really religiously, all right? Just loosely and flexibly, because it might be the case that by the time you finish this training, you want to come back and revisit it for a second time. In fact, there's a pretty good chance that you will. So that's it, introduction's over, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next clip, where we're going to officially get the show on the road.